Hi everyone, my name's Brianna. I'm the International Students Rep for Med Mentors, and I'm a first year medical student here at Deakin. I just wanted to share with you guys my journey into medicine in the hopes that it can maybe inspire some of you guys to know that we're not all in this alone. We all come from different pathways and it will work out as it should. As you can probably tell, I am not originally from Australia. I am from Canada. So I live in Calgary, which is in Western Canada, right into the mountains. And so I definitely love Canada and hope to one day maybe return. As you guys should all check it out because it is so much fun. Like most in Canada, we have a lot of winter, so I've done a lot of skiing, hiking. I live near the mountains, and I love to do patio beers when the sun is shining. So I definitely love the lifestyle that I have here. In terms of my undergrad, I went to the University of Calgary. Our undergrads are a little bit different, so we do 4 years for our degrees. And because I did 4 years, it kind of gives you a lot of opportunities to try some new things and see if what works for you. Like I said, my undergrad is in environmental science, so that's a little bit different than what most people will come out with. And it was definitely not as med-sci related, although I took a lot of the same courses. I originally went into the environmental section because I do have a passion for the environment, so I really do believe that health is linked to our environment, and I really thought that's where I wanted to focus. But it turns out when I was in my third year, I took a class called Health in the Environment, and it really just merged together for me and turned on so many light bulbs and passions that I really want to be doing health and try to focus there, and then by association, hopefully help the environment. It's something that's emerging and new, and not a lot of people are doing it, so I hope that I can be a pioneer in that. During my undergrad, though, I got to do so many cool things. We do a lot of field studies, so we got to go out to Kananaskis, which is just this awesome, beautiful national park, and sample and watch bears and watch squirrels and sample rivers and things like that. So it was really cool to be hands-on and like actually get to learn it. After my third year taking that course, that's when I really seriously thought about taking the MCAT, so our version of the GAMSAT. So I decided over that summer break, which is 4 months long for us, that as I was working, I would also study for this MCAT. I was working a lot that time, so I was working in a lab. I was sampling lakes and dissecting fish and doing genetics, and I ended up maybe not putting as much time into the MCAT as I should have, and I did write it very late in the season, so once I got my score back, I couldn't actually rewrite it again until the next year. So I decided to just apply within province, see what would happen. We have rules depending on your scores for where you're allowed to apply to. So my score only applied for my in-province, and I was pretty lucky that I do have 2 medical schools within Alberta. So I applied during my 4th year, obviously went into school, waited it out, and I got my first rejection. So it basically told me that, okay, well, after graduation, I would for sure be having at least 1 year off. So I kind of recollected and was like, I'm going to rewrite the MCAT again. So this will be my second time that I wrote it. I figured I'm going to write it a little bit earlier. Hopefully, if I do need to write it again, fingers crossed I don't, that I will have time to do that. So I took off the entire month of May after university, and just like that was my job. I did not have a job. I woke up, I studied MCAT, I went to bed, I woke up, I studied MCAT, and just did that for like a month straight. Went and took the test, thought I nailed it. Then I got my results back, and I didn't actually do any better than I had the first time I wrote it. So that was a huge blow, and I was so upset. And I was like talking to my parents, and my parents were like, you should just take it again. Like the worst can happen is that you do the same, or maybe you get better. So on a whim, I like booked another test. It was 2 weeks out, so I had 2 weeks to prep for this test. So this would be my 3rd time writing it. And I had just started a brand new job. I was just getting used to being graduated and not having school. So it was kind of like a upside down turned life for a moment. So those 2 weeks, I would go to work, I'd bring my MCAT prep stuff, I'd study, I listened to it again, and I wrote the exam. Walked out that time having no idea how I did. Got my results, and thank God I did better. So I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to apply again. My MCAT is stronger. I got to apply more out of province, so I got to apply to several different schools versus just the 2 from the first year I applied. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do to try to build my CV and my resume up in the time being while I'm waiting for this? So I ended up doing a research project with the Kirby Center, which is a not-for-profit for seniors, and we did a research on how to better help caregivers of older adults. So that was really cool. I got to work on an interdisciplinary team. We all worked together. We wrote a paper, and we ended up presenting at a conference in 2018, which was really cool and different. And I figured, okay, great, getting traction. I was working at the time at a spin studio because I kind of needed something that was unrelated to medicine or unrelated to sciences. I just needed a complete turn off and a complete switch of pace. And so once I had got in, I thought I was going to get in, I was really excited. I thought my application was going to be better. I thought I did all these steps to make it look better, to stand out. And in that second cycle, I got rejected again. Awesome. So that time I was like, okay, well, it's not my scores that aren't letting me in. I think it's maybe my age, because they tend to favor older students in Canada, just because it takes so much training and that they want to make sure that people are for sure that that's what they want to do. And then as well, I thought maybe I just need a little bit more experience. So like just general life experience. So as all people do, I left Canada and I went traveling for 6 weeks. I went to Southeast Asia, as most people do. I toured Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand by myself. And that was just great. It was so much fun to just let go, experience life as like in a different country than your own, and just do it on your own. And I really enjoyed just solo traveling. I met so many people. Everyone was so lovely. I met people that were in med, that were going into med, that were engineers, that weren't sure what they were doing. And it was really cool to kind of get that perspective. So after coming back, I was definitely recharged and I was like, this is the year I'm going to get into Canadian schools. I'm so excited. Thought I had done again all this stuff. I was TAing at the university for a biostatistics course and for a peer mentoring course. So I really felt like I had a lot to give and to offer. So I applied again, the waiting game as most people do, and I got rejected again. And that was definitely a big blow because this had been, the third time, and I kind of figured maybe this isn't happening for me. Like maybe what I see is different from what other people are seeing, and that's disconnecting, and I don't get a choice in that. So then I was just like looking online. Someone had suggested like, what if I looked internationally? So as most do being in Canada, I looked in the States first, but the States is very expensive with the dollar. So that was kind of out. I also just don't really like how the system works in the States. I just find it not humanistic focused, and I really want it to be like treating the human, not treating because you have enough money to do so. So that kind of like crossed that off the list. A lot of students also go to the Caribbean. Again, that one I didn't really like, although I could get in likely with the scores that I had. Unfortunately, my residency would probably still be in the States, and it's really hard to get back to Canada from that program. So again, it was something that I didn't want to do. Some people go to Scotland and Ireland, and they have great programs. They love Canadians and internationals, but unfortunately, you can't work there after. So to do your residency, you have to basically make sure that you get back to Canada somehow, which might not always work. And then my friend suggested Australia, and I was like, oh, interesting. I had actually just visited Australia a few months before because my friend had actually moved there. And so I went to go visit her, and I was like, I actually really liked it. I should look into this. So we have an agency that we use. Most internationals do have an agency specific to their country. So ours is called Austrac, but I know there's a bunch of different ones out there. And basically they gave us all the options about what was possible, what schools you could apply to, where you maybe had the best shot. And it was really great because I basically got to just give them everything and say they got to handle it on their end. And then I kind of just waited. So as I was waiting, I knew that I had to let life continue to go on. So I actually got a job in the environmental sector. I was working as an environmental consultant, which was pretty fun. It was a lot of like office work in the beginning, and then I got to do some field work, which I definitely love field work way more. So I got to be like out in a truck, in the dirt. And we always said we were dirt rollers, and like we were just like head to toe in PPE, and it was hot and it was fun, and you just joke around, and it was a really good time. And so I was doing that, and then I got started getting a few acceptances or offers for interviews to Australian schools. And so I was like through the roof with excitement, just because I had never gotten an offer in any of the Canadian schools. I really thought maybe I was, I didn't see something that other people were seeing, and maybe I wouldn't be good at this, and that's obviously what they're telling me. And that script that you write in your head that you're not good enough. So I got interviewed, which was awesome. So it's a little bit different than what would happen for domestic students being obviously overseas. Some students that interviewed here for Deakin, they actually had Vanessa come out and she interviewed them in person. For myself, I was actually part of the second cycle of interviewing just because I didn't apply to Australian schools till a little bit later in the year. So the first cycle had already gone through. And so I actually just did a Skype interview with Scott. It was kind of informal. He asked me 6 questions. I would talk on it and we kind of went back and forth. So that really helped me solidify like that I really loved Deakin. Versus other schools, still great experience with them. Some were face-to-face conversations, others was the MMI style. So we sat on our little computers and the interviewer would move from screen to screen. So very similar to MMI, again, 7 minutes to talk, very much what I would have expected here. And then offers came out in August, end of July, beginning of August. And I actually got accepted to quite a few, and that was crazy to think that I could be accepted to not just one, but multiple. And I just like really like kicked me in a high gear. Like I was like, yes, this is where I need to be. I have to make this happen. And so I chose Deakin. I chose Deakin because it just gave me all the good vibes. It was very collaborative, very much focused on community and like building each other up and wanting to see everyone succeed. And it also has a bit of a relaxed feeling, which I really enjoyed. And that idea of work-life balance, they really stressed on. So I really resonated with that. So now I obviously picked Deakin. So exciting. Moved to Australia. That was fun. You got to go through the visas, you got to go through all of your vaccines, get tested and poked and prodded constantly to make sure that we're not bringing anything, obviously, if we're sick and we're going to be a stress on the healthcare system again. And then we moved here. Okay, so talking to international students that were already here, either in Geelong, in Victoria, in Australia, they did very similar to what I did, being overseas. So if in Deakin's case, they had an interview just face-to-face, one-on-one, that would still be the case for those that were interviewing physically here. So you would meet with the international reps and they would still do their same protocol. As same with other universities, so if they did MMIs for internationals, like I experienced, they would do an MMI for any internationals that were here physically as well. So they do just kind of keep it a bit of a separate system versus what the domestics would have. If anyone has any questions on that or wants clarification, for sure reach out to me. I'm the International Student Reps for MedMentors, so my job is to make you feel better, you at ease. Same if you're not an international, definitely reach out. I love to talk, I love to chat. I definitely want to help you guys on your journey as best as possible. So thanks guys for listening. Hopefully I get to meet you guys in some event soon. Good luck with everything. You've got it, you've killed it, you're awesome. Thanks guys. Bye.